The Winchester rifle felt heavy in Cole Remington's calloused hands as he tracked the wolf that had been killing his cattle. 3 dead calves in a week. Too many for a lone predator. The February wind cut across the rocky terrain of his Arizona ranch, carrying the copper scent of blood. Cole's eyes narrowed, weathered creases deepening around them as he scanned the dried creek bed below. Then he heard it, a gunshot, not his own. Cole dropped to a crouch, years of battlefield instinct taking over. 3 more shots rang out in rapid succession, not the methodical fire of a hunter, the desperate shots of prey. He moved silently through the scrub brush, Winchester ready. The creek bed bent around a cluster of boulders, and there, a figure collapsed at the water's edge. A woman, Apache, her buckskin clothing torn and bloody, dark hair matted with sweat and dust. Her right arm clutched a revolver, smoke still wisping from the barrel. "They killed everyone," she gasped, dark eyes fierce despite her wounds. Blood seeped through gashes on her legs and side. "Help me live. I can repay you." Hoofbeats thundered in the distance. Cole's gaze snapped toward the sound, then back to the woman. The revolver in her hand caught his attention. Army Colt, Model 1860, standard issue during the war. No Apache should have such a weapon unless taken from a dead soldier. Cole made his decision in the heartbeat between duty and humanity. He dragged the woman behind the boulders just as 2 riders crested the ridge above the creek. "Tracks lead this way," one called out. "The savage can't have gone far." Cole pressed the woman against the rock face, his body shielding hers. She trembled beneath him, but made no sound. The men circled twice before the dust cloud of their departure rose against the relentless sky. "Name?" Cole asked, examining her wounds. The cut on her side would need stitches. His field medicine from the war would have to do. "Náila," she whispered, wincing as he pressed a bandana against her bleeding side. "I'm taking you to my ranch," Cole said. "Can't leave you out here, but there'll be questions that need answers." Her fingers tightened around the Army Colt. "There always are." The Remington Ranch stretched across 300 acres of hard Arizona terrain. 50 head of cattle, a well-built stable housing 7 horses, and a large timber cabin stood as testament to Cole's 5 years of brutal work since returning from the war. The place was nothing when he'd arrived, just like him. Empty, waiting to be filled with purpose again. "Senor Cole," Martinez called from the porch as Cole rode in. Náila slumped against his chest. The Mexican ranch hand rushed forward, his limp, a souvenir from Gettysburg where he'd fought alongside Cole, more pronounced in his haste. "Que pasó? Who is she?" "Found her by the creek, wounded, being hunted." Cole dismounted carefully, lifting Náila down. "Need the medicine box." Martinez's weathered face creased with concern, but he asked no more questions. That's why Cole had hired him 4 years ago. The man understood that some things needed doing before they needed explaining. Inside the cabin, Cole laid Náila on the bed he hadn't shared in 5 years. The sheets still smelled faintly of lavender, though Emma was long gone. The firelight cast dancing shadows across the ceiling, much like the flames that had taken Emma and little Sarah while he'd been away at war. The scars on his back pulled tight as he bent to tend Naila's wounds, a permanent reminder of his failed attempt to save them. Naila's eyes fluttered open as Cole finished the stitches. She jerked upright, reaching for a weapon that wasn't there. "Easy," Cole said, his voice low and steady. "You're safe for now." She scanned the cabin, taking in the rifle mounted above the stone fireplace, the worn leather books on the shelf, the silver-framed daguerreotype of a woman and child on the table. Her gaze settled back on Cole. "How long was I unconscious?" "Few hours. Martinez went into town for supplies. Should be back soon." Cole handed her a cup of water. "Those men hunting you, they'll be back with more." Naila's hand tightened around the cup. "They always do." The door swung open as Martinez returned, his expression grave. "Bad news, Patron. A bounty hunter named Ezekiel Kane is in town with 5 men. They're offering $1,000 for an Apache fugitive. A woman." Cole turned to Náila, whose face remained impassive. What did you do to earn that kind of bounty? I killed a man, she said simply. A Captain James Holloway. Cole felt the weight of those words. As a former Union soldier, he respected the military chain of command. But he'd also seen commanders who abused their power, who viewed the locals, especially Indians, as less than human. Why? He asked. He ordered his men to massacre my village, Náila said, her voice flat. 23 people, children, elders. I was hunting. When I returned, she looked away. I tracked him for 2 weeks. Then I put a bullet through his black heart. Before Cole could respond, the dogs outside began barking. Someone was coming. He grabbed his Winchester and moved to the window. A lone rider approached, the familiar silhouette of Sheriff Tom Wallace. Cole, Wallace called, dismounting. We need to talk. Cole stepped onto the porch, keeping his rifle visible, but lowered. Wallace had fought alongside him in the 7th Cavalry. A good man, or so Cole had always thought. Heard you might have company, Wallace said, eyes flicking toward the cabin. News travels fast. Faster when Ezekiel Kane is buying the drinks. Wallace removed his hat, revealing graying hair. Kane says the Apache woman killed his brother, Captain Holloway. Says she's wanted for murder and insurrection. And you believe everything a stranger tells you over whiskey? Wallace sighed. I know you, Cole. You've always had a soft spot for lost causes. But this one's trouble. Kane has connections. Government connections? Cole said nothing, measuring his old friend against memories of shared battlefields. I'm warning you as a friend, Wallace continued. Give her up before you lose everything. Again. The unspoken mention of Emma and Sarah hung in the air between them. I appreciate the concern, Cole said finally, but I need to hear the whole story first. Wallace shook his head. Just don't wait too long. Kane won't. After the sheriff rode away, Cole returned inside to find Náila standing by the fireplace, her hand resting on the Colt that Cole had placed on the mantel. You should have given me to him, she said quietly. Probably, Cole agreed, but I've never been good at doing what I should. Copper Springs existed for 2 reasons: the failed copper mine that gave it its name, and its position as the last supply stop before 70 miles of wilderness. Cole rode into town alone the next morning, his eyes scanning every doorway, every window, every alley. War had taught him that survival meant constant vigilance. Inside Mercer's general store, he collected ammunition, medical supplies, and enough food for 3 people to last 2 weeks. No one questioned why Cole needed so much. They'd stopped questioning him years ago, when he'd arrived with haunted eyes and burn scars visible above his collar. Remington. The voice stopped Cole as he secured his supplies to his horse. He turned to face Ezekiel Kane, tall, broad-shouldered, with a neatly trimmed beard and cold eyes. 5 men flanked him, hands hovering near holstered weapons. Kane, Cole acknowledged, continuing to tie his packs. I know you, Remington. 7th Cavalry. You were at Antietam with my brother. Cole kept his expression neutral. A lot of men were at Antietam. Kane stepped closer. James wrote about you. Said you were a man of principle. That why you're harboring his killer? Don't know what you're talking about. Kane's smile didn't reach his eyes. 2 hunters tracked that Apache bitch to the creek by your property yesterday. Then the trail vanished. Funny coincidence. Cole finished securing his gear and faced Kane fully. You've mistaken me for someone who cares about your problems. Make no mistake, Remington. Kane's voice dropped to a dangerous whisper. I know you're hiding something, and I will burn your entire world to the ground to find it. As Cole rode out of town, the weight of Kane's threat settled across his shoulders. He'd recognized something in the bounty hunter's eyes, a fanaticism that went beyond money. This was personal. A mile outside town, gunfire erupted from a small gulch, sharp cracks followed by screams. Cole spurred his horse forward, cresting the rise to see a settler's wagon surrounded by 4 riders. A woman clutched 2 children beneath the wagon, while a man fired desperately from behind a wheel. Cole didn't hesitate. He dismounted, leveled his Winchester, and fired 3 shots in rapid succession. 2 raiders fell. The others wheeled toward this new threat. Cole worked the lever action smoothly, each movement precise from years of practice. The 3rd raider took a bullet through the chest. The 4th raised his hands in surrender. "Please, mister, I was just—" Cole shot him through the forehead. The settler emerged cautiously, still clutching his shotgun. "Thank you, stranger. They would have killed us all." Cole nodded, reloading his rifle. "Get your family to Copper Springs. Stay there till the Army patrol comes through next week." As he rode away, Cole felt the familiar hollowness that followed taking lives. Necessary but never easy. Not for a man who still remembered what it meant to be human. Back at the ranch, Cole found Náila in the stable with Martinez, helping groom the horses despite her injuries. Her movements were fluid and confident, a warrior's grace. She straightened as Cole dismounted. "You have questions," she said. "Not a question." Cole nodded toward the cabin. Inside, he laid his rifle on the table and poured 2 glasses of whiskey. "Start with how an Apache woman learned to handle an Army Colt so well." Náila accepted the glass but didn't drink. "My father traded with the settlers before the troubles began. He believed we could live alongside the white man. He was wrong." She set the glass down. "A cavalry officer taught me to shoot when I was 16. He said I had a natural talent." "And Holloway? What really happened?" Naila's eyes darkened. 3 months ago, gold was discovered on our tribal lands. Small deposits, but enough. 2 days later, Captain Holloway arrived with 30 men. He called for a meeting with our elders. She paused, her hands clenching. They were still talking when his men opened fire. Women, children, elders, all shot. My younger brother ran to warn me where I was gathering herbs. They caught him, tortured him for sport. She reached into her pocket and withdrew a folded paper. "I found this in Holloway's tent when I killed him. His orders." Cole unfolded the paper. Official military letterhead. The orders authorized Holloway to clear hostile elements from strategic mineral deposits by any means necessary. It was signed by a general Cole had served under, a man known for his hatred of Indians. "This doesn't justify murder," Cole said, though the words felt hollow even to himself. "No," Náila agreed, "but it explains it." Before Cole could respond, the cabin door burst open. Sheriff Wallace stood in the doorway, his expression grim. "Kane convinced the governor that your Apache woman isn't just a murderer. She's a spy for the renegade bands planning an uprising." Wallace's eyes flickered to the paper in Cole's hand. "What's that?" "Holloway's orders. Proof that the massacre was planned." Wallace extended his hand. "Let me see it. Maybe I can help." Cole hesitated, then passed the document over. Wallace scanned it quickly, his face revealing nothing. "This changes things," he said finally. "I need to take this to the territorial judge." "And Náila." Wallace looked at her, then back to Cole. "Keep her hidden. I'll send word when it's safe." As Wallace turned to leave, Náila spoke. "He's lying." Cole frowned. "Tom and I served together. He wouldn't—" The paper trembled in his hands when he read it. Not surprise. Fear. Cole watched Wallace mount his horse through the window. Something in the sheriff's rigid posture triggered an old instinct, the same that had saved him on night patrols when something wasn't right. "Wallace!" Cole called, stepping onto the porch. "One more thing." The sheriff's gun appeared with startling speed. The bullet splintered the door frame inches from Cole's head. "Sorry, old friend," Wallace said, his voice genuinely regretful. "Kane offered me $5,000 to bring him the woman and any evidence. That's more than I'd make in 5 years as sheriff." Cole dove back inside as another bullet shattered the window. He rolled to his feet, grabbing his Winchester. Náila already had the Colt in her hand. "3 shots left," she said calmly. Cole nodded toward the back door. "Stable. Now." They sprinted across the yard as Wallace fired again. Martinez emerged from the stable, shotgun in hand, and provided covering fire. Once inside, Cole barred the door and grabbed additional weapons from the tack room. "Why didn't you kill him?" Náila demanded as Cole handed her a shotgun. He betrayed you. Cole checked his ammunition. He was my brother in the war, saved my life at Antietam. And now he tries to take it, Náila said, bewildered. Your white man's honor makes no sense. Maybe not. Cole loaded his Colt revolver. But it's all that separates us from men like Kane. That night they fortified the ranch. Martinez dug trenches between the cabin and stable. Cole placed spare rifles at strategic positions. Náila prepared bandages and medicines, her hands steady despite the coming storm. As darkness fell, they gathered by the fire. The flames cast long shadows across the cabin walls, not unlike the shadows of Cole's recurring nightmares. Emma and Sarah screaming as their home burned. You still blame yourself, Náila observed, her voice startling Cole from his thoughts. For your family. Cole stared into the fire. I was 3 days' ride away when it happened. Should have been here. My people believe a warrior carries the souls of those he couldn't save, Náila said quietly. Not as punishment, as purpose. Cole looked at her, really looked at her for the first time. Not as an Apache, not as a fugitive, but as a fellow survivor. In her eyes, he saw the same ghost that haunted his own. Dawn comes early, he said finally. Get some rest. But sleep eluded him. Instead, Cole cleaned his weapons by lamplight, preparing for the battle that dawn would surely bring. The dog's frantic barking jolted Cole awake just before sunrise. He grabbed his rifle and moved to the window. In the dim pre-dawn light, he saw Wallace riding back, but not alone. At least 12 riders followed him. Martinez, Cole called. They're here. The ranch hand appeared, shotgun ready. More than we expected, Patron. Always are. Cole turned to Náila. Last chance to run. Back door's still clear. She checked the Colt's cylinder. I stopped running the day my village burned. Cole nodded, a newfound respect in his eyes. Martinez, take the stable roof. Náila, second floor window. I'll handle the front. As they took positions, Cole stepped onto the porch. Winchester held loosely at his side. Kane rode forward, flanked by Wallace. Morning, Remington, Kane called, almost cordial. Beautiful sunrise, isn't it? State your business and be gone, Cole replied. Kane smiled. You know why we're here, the Apache woman, and Holloway's orders. There was no legal justification for what Holloway did. My brother was following orders to protect American citizens from savages, Kane said, his voice hardening. That woman murdered a United States Army officer. Hand her over, along with any stolen military documents, and you can keep your miserable ranch. Cole raised his rifle slightly. You step 1 foot past my fence, Kane, and they'll bury what's left of you in a matchbox. A tense silence fell. In the distance, a coyote howled, a lonely sound that echoed across the empty landscape. Have it your way, Remington. Kane nodded to his men. Burn them out. The first volley of gunfire shattered the morning stillness. Cole dove behind a water barrel as bullets splintered the porch. From his position, he could see Martinez returning fire from the stable roof, dropping one of Kane's men. Náila fired methodically from upstairs, each shot followed by the sound of the Winchester's lever action. 2 more of Kane's men fell. For 10 minutes, the battle raged across the ranch yard. Cole moved from cover to cover, each shot deliberate. 4 of Kane's men were down, but they'd pinned Martinez on the roof, and smoke was rising from the north side of the stable, where they'd thrown a torch. The horses! Martinez shouted, abandoning his position to rush into the burning stable. Martinez, wait! Cole called, but it was too late. A shot rang out. Martinez staggered in the stable doorway, clutching his chest. Cole ran forward, dodging bullets, and dragged the wounded man behind the water trough. Should have stayed in Mexico, Martinez gasped, blood bubbling at his lips. Too much excitement here. Save your breath, old friend, Cole said, pressing a bandana against the wound. Martinez gripped Cole's arm with surprising strength. It was an honor, Patron. Like Gettysburg again, no? Cole nodded, throat tight. Just like Gettysburg. Martinez's eyes focused on something behind Cole. "Look," he whispered. Cole turned. On the ridge behind the ranch, silhouetted against the rising sun, sat a line of mounted Apache warriors. For a heartbeat, no one moved. Then, with war cries that sent ice through the veins of Kane's men, the Apache charged. "Her people," Martinez smiled weakly. "They found her." The battle shifted instantly. Kane's men scattered under the new attack, caught between Cole's defensive fire and the charging Apache. 3 fell beneath war clubs and lances before they could reach their horses. Through the chaos, Cole spotted Kane running toward the stable, toward Náila, who was moving from the cabin to help the trapped horses. Cole sprinted after him, but a burning beam crashed down, blocking his path. The horses screamed in terror as flames engulfed the stable. Cole circled around, searching for another entrance, when he heard Náila cry out. Through the smoke, he saw Kane dragging her away, a knife at her throat. "It's over, Kane!" Cole shouted, raising his Winchester. Kane sneered. "You would risk hitting her? I know you, Remington. Always too honorable to take the shot." "Honor didn't keep me alive through the war," Cole said, his finger steady on the trigger. "Accuracy did." The rifle cracked. Kane howled as the bullet shattered his shoulder, causing him to release Náila. She rolled away, drawing a knife from her boot. Kane lunged for his fallen pistol, but Cole was faster, kicking it away. "It's finished," Cole said, aiming at Kane's heart. "Surrender and you'll get a fair trial." Kane laughed, blood soaking his shirt. "Like the fair trial my brother's killers would have gotten. There's no justice for Indians in this territory." "There will be," Cole said firmly. "Starting today." Náila approached, her knife still drawn. "In my culture, his life belongs to me." Cole lowered his rifle slightly. "And in mine, murder and justice aren't the same thing." For a moment, Naila's expression hardened. Then unexpectedly, she sheathed her knife. "Perhaps there is wisdom in your way, too." As Cole reached down to bind Kane's hands, the bounty hunter surged upward with unexpected strength, a hidden derringer appearing in his hand. 2 shots rang out simultaneously, Cole's rifle and Náila's Colt. Kane collapsed, his final expression one of disbelief. The fighting died down as Kane's surviving men surrendered. The Apache warriors gathered the wounded, their faces impassive as they surveyed the burning ranch. 3 days later, a federal marshal arrived from Tucson with a judge. They reviewed Holloway's orders and heard testimonies from the surviving Apache about the massacre. Wallace confessed his role in the cover-up, trading information for leniency. "The territorial governor sends his apologies, Mr. Remington," the judge said as they prepared to leave. "In light of your service record and the circumstances, you've been appointed the new sheriff of Copper County." Cole looked at his damaged ranch, the burned stable, bullet-riddled cabin, the 3 fresh graves for Martinez and 2 Apache warriors. "On one condition," he said, "justice in this county applies to everyone equally, red or white." The judge nodded solemnly. "That's why the governor chose you." After they departed, Náila helped Cole begin repairs on the stable. Her people had returned to their lands, but she had stayed, at least for now. "Your people got their land recognized," Cole said as they worked, "and rights to any gold found there." Náila hammered a nail with precise force. "Land was always ours. Paper doesn't change that." "No," Cole agreed, "but it might keep the next Holloway away." As evening approached, Cole stood on his porch, watching the sunset paint the desert in copper and gold. The Winchester rested in his hands. Clean, oiled, ready. Always ready. Náila approached, dressed now in traditional Apache clothing. "I return to my people tomorrow," she said. "They need leadership to rebuild." Cole nodded, saying nothing. Words had never been his strength. "You fight for justice in your way," she continued. "I will fight in mine." She hesitated, then added, "But perhaps our paths need not be separate." Cole handed her the army Colt she'd carried when they first met, now cleaned and loaded. "An alliance, then." She accepted the weapon, their fingers briefly touching. "An alliance!" As Náila walked away toward the Apache camp in the foothills, Cole remained on the porch, the Winchester across his lap. For the first time in 5 years, the ghosts of Emma and Sarah seemed quieter. Not gone, never gone, but perhaps at peace with his new purpose. The sun slipped below the horizon, painting the sky in fire. Cole Remington, rancher, soldier, survivor, and now sheriff, watched the darkness come, ready as always for whatever the dawn would bring. The frontier forged men like iron and fire. Some emerged stronger, some shattered. But the true measure of a man isn't found in how many battles he wins, but in what he chooses to fight for.